If you have been thinking about starting a podcast, but you are not sure how to begin, this video is for you. A lot of people want to start a podcast because they have ideas to share, stories to tell, lessons to teach, or a brand to grow. But once they think about recording, editing, equipment, publishing, and promotion, the whole thing starts to feel bigger than it really is. The truth is that podcasting can be simple when you understand the process clearly. In this video, I will walk you through how to start a podcast step by step, in a way that is easy to follow and easy to understand. At Entrepreneurs.ng, we make business easy for entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, and the brands that serve them. Do you want to start right? We help you register your business with CAC quickly. Reach out at contact@redalia.com. Do you want guidance as you build your business? Join the Entrepreneurs Success Blueprint program, our 30-day hands-on business school. Enroll now. Do not build in silence. Tell your business story on Entrepreneurs.ng today and be seen by the world. And if you want your brand to be discovered through trusted, search-driven content and strategic visibility, we can help through our different visibility packages. Learn the ways we can work with you at www.entrepreneurs.ng or reach us at business@entrepreneurs.ng. Why is starting a podcast important for entrepreneurs and creators? Podcasting is important because it gives you a direct way to speak to people and build trust over time. When someone listens to your voice regularly, they begin to understand how you think, what you know, and what you stand for. That is powerful for anyone building a brand, a business, or a community. A podcast can help you teach, inspire, explain, and connect in a more personal way than many other content formats. It can also become a strong business tool because it helps you stay visible, build authority, attract the right audience, and create opportunities for growth. So if you are an entrepreneur, a student, a creator, an educator, or someone with something valuable to say, learning how to start a podcast is a smart move. What is a podcast and how does podcasting works? A podcast is a digital audio show that people can listen to online whenever they want. It usually comes in episodes, and those episodes may be grouped into seasons or series. Instead of tuning in at a fixed time like traditional radio, listeners can choose when to listen, where to listen, and how to listen. That flexibility is one of the reasons podcasts have become so popular. The process itself is quite simple. You record your audio, edit it so it sounds clean and clear, then upload it to a podcast hosting platform. That platform helps distribute your episodes to places like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and other directories where listeners can find your show. Once you understand that workflow, podcasting becomes far less intimidating. Now, let us look at the steps to start a podcast. Step 1. Define your purpose and know why your podcast exists. The first step in starting a podcast is not buying a microphone or choosing music. It is getting clear on your purpose. You need to know why you are starting the podcast in the first place. Are you trying to build a personal brand, grow a business, educate people, inspire them, entertain them, or document a journey? Your answer matters because it shapes everything that follows. It affects your content, your tone, your style, and even how you will promote or monetize the show later. When your purpose is clear, your podcast feels focused. When your purpose is unclear, your podcast often becomes scattered and forgettable. So before you do anything else, sit down and answer that question honestly. Why do you want to start a podcast, and what do you want it to achieve? Step 2. Define your target audience clearly. Once your purpose is clear, the next step is to define your audience. You need to know who you are speaking to because a podcast becomes stronger when it speaks directly to a specific group of people. A common mistake is saying the podcast is for everyone, but that usually weakens the message. Instead, think carefully about who would benefit most from your content. What problems are they trying to solve? What questions are they asking? What kind of explanation would help them understand your message easily? If your audience is new entrepreneurs, your podcast should sound different from a podcast for students, parents, or creative professionals. When you know your audience, you choose better topics, use better examples, and communicate in a way that feels relevant and useful. Step 3. Choose the right podcast format for your content. The next step is choosing your podcast format. Your format is the structure of the show, and it affects how your audience experiences it. You may decide to do a solo podcast where you speak directly to listeners and teach or share insights. You may prefer an interview podcast where you invite guests and ask questions. You could also choose a co-hosted format where you discuss ideas with another person, or a storytelling format where each episode follows a more narrative style. The best format is not the most popular one. It is the one that fits your purpose, your personality, and the type of content you want to produce consistently. If you are just starting, a solo format is often the simplest because it allows you to begin without depending on other people. Step 4. Name your podcast and write a clear tagline. Your podcast name is one of the first things people will notice, so it needs to be clear, memorable, and relevant. A good podcast name should help people understand what the show is about, or at least give them a strong sense of its direction. It should be easy to say, easy to spell, and easy to remember. It should also be unique enough that it does not get lost among other shows. Before choosing a name, search on podcast platforms and social media to make sure it is not already in use. Along with the name, write a short tagline that explains what listeners can expect. Think of the tagline as a simple promise. It should tell people what value your podcast offers and why they should care enough to listen. Step 5. Plan your podcast episodes before you start recording. A podcast grows better when it is planned properly. That is why the next step is to map out your episodes before you record anything. Start by deciding how long your episodes should be and how often you want to publish. Some shows work well as short, focused episodes, while others need more time to explore ideas properly. What matters is that the length fits the value of the content. You should also think about your publishing schedule. Weekly is often a good place to start because it gives you consistency without becoming too difficult to manage. After that, create a simple content calendar and list out your first set of episode ideas. Planning ahead reduces stress, helps you stay organized, and makes your podcast feel intentional rather than random. Step 6. Write a script or an outline for each episode. Once you know what each episode will cover, the next step is to give it structure by writing either a script or an outline. A script is a full written version of what you want to say, while an outline is a shorter guide that helps you move from point to point without losing direction. If you are a beginner, a full script can help you stay focused and avoid rambling. If you are more comfortable speaking naturally, an outline may be enough. Whichever one you choose, every episode should still have a clear beginning, middle, and end. Start by introducing the topic, then explain why it matters, deliver the main content clearly, and close with a relevant call to action. That simple structure helps your listeners follow your message without getting lost. Step 7. Record your podcast with a simple and clear setup. Now we move to recording, which is the stage many people worry about the most. The good news is that you do not need a professional studio to get started. You can record your podcast with a phone, a laptop, or a simple microphone setup, as long as your sound is clear enough for listeners to understand you easily. The most important thing is to record in a quiet space with as little background noise as possible. Speak clearly, keep a steady pace, and test your setup before recording the full episode. If you are interviewing someone remotely, make sure both sides of the conversation are recorded clearly. Good audio matters because poor sound is one of the fastest ways to lose listeners, even when the content itself is valuable. Step 8. Create an engaging podcast intro and outro. A strong intro and outro help your podcast feel complete and professional. Your intro should quickly tell listeners the name of the show, who you are, and what this episode is about. It does not need to be too long or dramatic. It just needs to be clear and confident. Your outro should wrap the episode up nicely, thank people for listening, and tell them what to do next. That next action could be subscribing to the podcast, leaving a review, visiting your website, or checking out a related offer. Over time, your intro and outro become part of your podcast identity, so keep them consistent. They should sound like they belong to your brand and fit the tone of the show naturally. Before we move forward, take a moment and learn how we can work together. At Entrepreneurs.ng, we make business easy for entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, and the brands that serve them. Do you want to start right? We help you register your business with CAC quickly. Reach out at contact@redalia.com. Do you want guidance as you build your business? Join the Entrepreneurs Success Blueprint program, our 30-day hands-on business school. Enroll now. Do not build in silence. Tell your business story on Entrepreneurs.ng today and be seen by the world. And if you want your brand to be discovered through trusted, search-driven content and strategic visibility, we can help through our different visibility packages. Learn the ways we can work with you at www.entrepreneurs.ng or reach us at business@entrepreneurs.ng. Step 9. Choose the right podcast equipment for your stage. Many beginners think they need expensive equipment before they can start podcasting, but that is not true. You only need enough equipment to sound clear and professional enough for your current stage. At the beginning, a good microphone, a pair of headphones, and a quiet space can already make a big difference. You may also use a pop filter or a simple stand to improve your setup further. As your podcast grows, you can invest in better equipment like studio microphones, audio interfaces, or sound treatment, but those things should come later. The goal at the beginning is not to look impressive. It is to create a listening experience that feels clear, comfortable, and trustworthy. Step 10. Edit your podcast for better quality. Editing is where your raw recording becomes a proper episode. This is the stage where you clean the sound, remove mistakes, trim long pauses, balance your audio levels, and add any music or transitions you need. Good editing makes your podcast easier to listen to because it helps the episode flow better and sound more polished. You do not need to over-edit everything or remove every natural pause, but you do need to make sure the final audio feels clean and intentional. There are free and paid tools that can help you do this depending on your needs and your budget. If editing is not your strength, you can outsource it later. What is important is that the final episode sounds good enough to hold attention and reflect your professionalism. Step 11. Choose a podcast hosting platform. After editing, your podcast needs a home online, and that is where podcast hosting comes in. A podcast hosting platform stores your audio files and helps distribute them to listening platforms. Think of it as the system working behind the scenes to make sure your show is available to your audience. When choosing a host, look for something that is easy to use, reliable, and suited to your stage. Some hosting platforms are free and great for beginners, while others offer more advanced features like analytics, team access, and monetization options. The right host makes your publishing process smoother and gives you the support you need as your show grows. Step 12. Distribute your podcast so people can find it. Once your podcast is hosted, the next step is distribution. This means making your show available on platforms where people already listen to podcasts. The goal is to remove friction and make it easy for your audience to find you wherever they prefer to listen. Your podcast should be distributed to major directories like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Amazon Music, and other relevant platforms. Each of these helps expand your reach and increase discoverability. Distribution is important because even a strong podcast cannot grow if it is difficult to find. When your podcast is available across major platforms, you give yourself a much better chance of reaching the right listeners. Step 13. Promote and monetize your podcast strategically. Publishing your podcast is only the beginning. If you want it to grow, you need to promote it consistently. That means sharing your episodes on social media, sending them to your email list, repurposing clips into short-form content, and talking about your podcast wherever your audience already pays attention. Promotion helps people discover your show, but growth also depends on the value of the content itself. When the content is useful, people come back and they share it. Over time, your podcast can also become a revenue-generating asset. You may earn through sponsorships, affiliate marketing, listener support, paid guest features, or by using the podcast to sell your own products and services. Monetization works best when it is built on trust, consistency, and a clear understanding of what your audience truly needs. When you look at the process as a whole, starting a podcast becomes much easier to understand. At Entrepreneurs.ng, we make business easy for entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, and the brands that serve them. Do you want to start right? We help you register your business with CAC quickly. Reach out at contact@redalia.com. Do you want guidance as you build your business? Join the Entrepreneurs Success Blueprint program, our 30-day hands-on business school. Enroll now. Do not build in silence. Tell your business story on Entrepreneurs.ng today and be seen by the world. And if you want your brand to be discovered through trusted, search-driven content and strategic visibility, we can help through our different visibility packages. Learn the ways we can work with you at www.entrepreneurs.ng or reach us at business@entrepreneurs.ng. If you have been waiting for the perfect time to start a podcast, this is your reminder that the best way to learn is to begin. You do not need to have everything perfect before you start. What you need is a clear message, a clear audience, and the discipline to keep improving as you go. Start with what you have. Keep your process simple. Focus on being helpful, clear, and consistent. Over time, your confidence will grow, your sound will improve, and your podcast will become stronger. The most important thing is not to keep waiting while your ideas stay in your head. Put them into the world and let your voice begin to do its work. Learn more about podcasting here https://entrepreneurs.ng/how to start a podcast/. It has been a pleasure teaching you today. See you in the next video. If you found this useful, subscribe to the channel for more practical business insights. We are rooting for you.